Hello guys, and welcome back to this new episode. Today we are going to talk about the otzi. So otzi was retrieved, its skeleton was retrieved in the so-called Valsenalis. Now Valsenalis is this region in Trentino Alto Adige, so this area in Trentino Alto Adige around Bolzano, which is basically the capital, where he was retrieved. Now, who was Otzi? Otzi allegedly lived between 3100 and 3300 before Christ. He had brown eyes, brown hair, long up until the shoulders, at least that's what we know. And his body suggested that he was very much ready to go around and run in case of danger. That is what immediately we have understood about Otzi. Why we have understood so many things is just a pure coincidence. In other words, there were two excursionists in 1991 traveling on that territory, on that area, and they found the otzi, they saw it, and then around there was a Messner. They brought this draft of the axe to Messner, and that is how we found out that this was not like a recent body, but this was like a very old skeleton that had emerged from the ice block, and so that is how we have found otzi and found out about otzi. So nowadays, otzi is maintained, preserved in this chamber, which is located in Bolzano, where his skeleton is there. It's a particular chamber because it reproduces constantly the conditions of the ice cap. Meaning, in other words, what we have is otzi, and then the chamber is like at a constant temperature, -6 Celsius, and 99% of humidity plus. Because the skeleton basically loses humidity, in order to preserve it, it's constantly sprayed with sterilized water, and that is how it is preserved, and people, observers can look at otzi, can get a glimpse from this like very small window where you can kind of see the condition of the body. Now, why otzi died? That's another interesting point. So we know that he was around 45 when he died, and we also know allegedly why he died, because the body has been, or the remains of the body anyway, have been analyzed, and what we have found out is that there is like a point of an arrow on his shoulder, and that seems to have been the cause of death. Specifically, what we know is that he had this point of an arrow on his shoulder, and that allegedly previous days, so days prior to the attack from an enemy, because this is allegedly a form of revenge, he procured himself a wound in his right hand, and this wound is a deep wound obtained because somebody cut him, and so allegedly he died because his enemy just took a revenge on him. They've also analyzed the content of its stomach, which is amazing to me, and they have determined that he had an abundant lunch, and therefore he was not expecting or ready to die necessarily. Now, another interesting element is the axe itself, because this axe is made of copper, but the copper, it's not local copper as one might have thought, but it comes directly from Tuscany, which is like saying that otzi had available weapons coming directly from Tuscany, which means if not himself, somebody else was operating the strait from Trentino Alto Adige to Tuscany, which is quite relevant. We also know, because they have carried out a tomography on the body, that he had the onset of arteriosclerosis and that he was predisposed to cardiocirculatory sort of diseases. That is interesting because it seems that the cardiocirculatory diseases were very, very common. But we also know that its DNA, it's nothing like ours. So in other words, that DNA got extinct. Is extinct. It comes from more than 8,000 years ago, and we know that the father was a Middle Eastern sort of like human being. So he had they determined that his father was from Middle East, probably because of genes that are or that were nowadays or there were at the time present only in Middle East, and the mother was local. And last 2 points that we can tell you about otzi. One concerns the clothing. So it has been determined that there were more than 5 different animals that would constitute his clothing, and that all with herbs. Herbs had the function of isolating and tying together all the different pieces of fur directly coming from animals, and also that he had like some sort of like shoes, and the sole of those shoes was isolating, made of herbs and deerskin. And finally, there's a very interesting point that deserves some more investigation, and has to do with his tattoos. There were found initially between 49 and 57 incisions. Those incisions were covered with coal. And then eventually they managed to discover 61 incisions between the thorax and the back. Now those seem to have had a therapeutic role, but the meaning of those incisions is highly unknown. So there is a debate that is ongoing, but we really don't know why he got so many tattoos or so many incisions, right? It makes me think, since his father was from Middle East, that this might be knowledge that got lost in terms of like meridians or things like that. But again, we have no understanding of what those tattoos were for. But with that being said, guys, for now this is really all I got. So we are going to talk in the next episode about something else, but in the meantime, please don't forget to like the video if you have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts, comment below, and I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing all your comments. And guys, that is it. So we'll talk next time. Bye!